3 weeks before winter, the Midwest gets hit by the third snowstorm in a week, making travel difficult and dangerous. And the storm is headed to the east.
Also tonight, the accused murderer of an insurance company executive is back in court. The evidence Luigi Mangion is fighting to keep a jury from seeing.
The president has a right to take them out.
The Trump administration on defense after Democrats and Republicans say a U.S. attack on alleged drug runners in the Caribbean amounted to a war crime.
Alex Singleton comes up with the play of the night.
And Captain Courageous. Denver's Alex Singleton returns to the field after battling cancer and helps to lead the Broncos to victory.
I'm just happy to be a part of it. I love these guys.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois.
I'm John Dickerson.
Some potentially dangerous weather is moving across the northern part of the country from the Midwest, heading to the Northeast.
This is already the third snowstorm to pound the middle of the country in the past week.
Weather alerts are up across the entire area, from the plains to the Midwest to the Northeast. That includes a winter storm warning from New York State to Maine. The area could be in for some heavy snow.
Lonnie Quinn is tracking the storm, but we begin with Usher Qureshi in Chicago. Usher?
Good evening. At the moment, 75 million people are under a winter weather alert, including right here in Chicago, where more snow is already falling. The second winter storm in days blanketed parts of Missouri with several inches of snow, leading to slick roads and multiple crashes across the state. It followed a more powerful storm over the weekend that dumped up to a foot of snow across the Midwest. On Sunday, the Des Moines airport was closed for several hours after a Delta regional jet skidded off an icy runway. No one was hurt, while heavy snow caused a massive 45-car pileup that temporarily shut part of Interstate 70 in Indiana. Chicago saw over 8 inches, its snowiest day ever in November, which caused headaches for holiday travelers.
We are pretty tired.
Yeah. You missed your connection, though.
We missed our connection due to a delayed flight coming from Rochester.
Since Saturday, more than 2,000 flights have been canceled at O'Hare, thousands more delayed. And with more snow on the way, people are trying to get home fast. You know there's weather coming tonight.
Let's hope I get the hell out before it gets worse then.
If you are traveling, it's a good idea to check your flight status up until boarding time. And if you're driving, expect slow going and leave plenty of extra time.
Okay, Usher Qureshi in Chicago, thank you.
Lonnie Quinn is tracking the storm. So, Lonnie, what is the latest?
Okay, the latest is, with the storm that we're watching, the biggest snowfall total anywhere is in Manhattan. But it's not Manhattan, New York City, it's Manhattan, Kansas. Let's go to the maps here right now. I'll go through the numbers for you. Manhattan, Kansas, 4 inches, also 4 inches for Kansas City, Missouri. St. Louis has 2.5. You're an inch for Springfield, Illinois, and Burlington, Iowa. That's what's on the ground as of right now. Currently the snow, it's snowing in Chicago. It's just now making its way into the area around Detroit. The rain snow line is set up just around Memphis, a little south of Memphis. So for tonight, we're concerned about some icing in and around Little Rock, and then for tomorrow, there could be some severe thunderstorms out there on the panhandle of Florida. So where does the storm go from here? All right, by 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, the early commuters are underway. The rain snow line right around West Virginia, touching into Kentucky as well. North of that snow, south of that rain. For the big cities, Philadelphia, New York City, Washington, D.C., this is primarily rain. And you heard Usher say 75 million people under winter weather alerts. 75 million could be seeing 1 to 5 inches of snow. If you look at that area, that goes anywhere from, say, portions of the Catskills up into Maine, could be 6 to 12 inches of snow for the big numbers, maybe even a little bit more than that in some spots. So for the first day of meteorological winter for some folks, this is the first winter storm of the season. Gentlemen?
It is December. Lonnie Quinn, thanks so much.
The man accused of gunning down UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson on a New York City sidewalk nearly 1 year ago was in court today. Luigi Mangion is fighting to have some of the evidence excluded, including a notebook the defense claims was obtained without a warrant.
Prosecutors believe Mangion revealed in that notebook a motive. They say he wrote about a, quote, greed-fueled health insurance cartel. Jerika Duncan is covering the case.
Unshackled in a Manhattan courtroom, Luigi Mangion took notes throughout a pretrial hearing detailing his arrest. A corrections officer who at one point was assigned to constantly watch Mangione said his supervisor told him the prison did not, quote, want an Epstein-style situation. The 27-year-old's defense team is asking the court to suppress evidence collected during Mangione's arrest in connection with the death of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. At issue is the admission of Mangione's personal notebook and the alleged weapon, a 9mm pistol equipped with a silencer. Outside court, dozens gathered to support the Ivy League graduate who has raised more than $1 million for his legal defense fund. 25-year-old Christina Robinson says she donated to Mangione's legal defense. Today, she was in the courtroom.
Why be here to show support for Luigi Mangione based on the serious nature of what he's charged with?
I think the case became very political in its early beginnings, and I think that raised a lot of red flags for people like me and others, and that's why I try to get involved in the activism part of it.
In the state case, Mangione is facing up to life in prison, but don't forget he's also looking at a federal case in which he could possibly get the death penalty. John and Maurice.
Jerika, you talked to people who are there in support of Mangione, and what did you notice?
I noticed about three different groups, if you will. One group really concerned about the constitutional rights of Mangione, others who see him as someone who stood up to the healthcare industry, and quite frankly, others who say they were infatuated with the 27-year-old. All of this making for a case that people all around the world are following very closely.
Jerika Duncan, thank you.
Late today, President Trump convened a meeting of his national security team to talk about Venezuela and what the United States will do next.
CBS News has confirmed the participants included Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Weijia Zhang is at the White House.
Tonight, the U.S. continues its military buildup in the Caribbean, moving the USS Gerald Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, to St. Thomas. And over the weekend, President Trump posted that the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela should be considered closed in its entirety.
Because we consider Venezuela to be not a very friendly country.
Does your warning mean that an airstrike is imminent, or should we not read it that way?
Don't read anything into it.
One of the 21 drug boat strikes on suspected narco-terrorists is now under scrutiny. The Washington Post reported Defense Secretary Hegseth allegedly gave an order to kill everybody on board before the first vessel attack on September 2nd. When 2 passengers survived, a second strike unfolded to apparently fulfill Hegseth's instructions, and the 2 men were blown apart in the water.
No, I wouldn't have wanted that, not a second strike.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed a second strike was ordered by the Special Operations Commander overseeing the mission, Admiral Mitch Bradley.
Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed.
So was the initial order from Secretary Hegseth, everyone be killed?
I would reject that the Secretary of War ever said that.
Hegseth called the story fabricated and derogatory. On Sunday night, he posted this fake children's book cover to make light of it. Lawmakers in both parties vow to investigate whether the second strike was a war crime.
If that occurred, that would be very serious, and I agree that would be an illegal act.
This rises to the level of a war crime if it's true.
In other news about President Trump, his doctor released a summary of Trump's MRI, which he says was done as a preventive measure. The physician said Trump's cardiovascular and abdominal imaging is perfectly normal, though the White House did not release the actual report from the radiologist.
Okay, Weijia Zhang at the White House. Thank you.
Joining us now from Monterey Bay, California, is Leon Panetta, who served as Secretary of Defense under President Obama. Mr. Secretary, since you had the job, knowing what you know now, what would you want to know as Secretary of Defense about what happened?
Well, I'd like to know what exactly is the strategy here. We've just deployed a very significant force to the Caribbean. 15,000 men and women in uniform are deployed there. We have a carrier strike group there. I'm not quite sure what the strategy is, whether it's aimed at regime change for Maduro or whether this is to try to stop narco trafficking from Venezuela.
Based on what you've seen here, Mr. Secretary, was that second strike, was that a war crime?
The second strike is a war crime because these individuals were injured. They were in the water. The basic rules of war that are involved here make very clear that you do not strike wounded people in the water in order to kill them. You basically then are responsible to try to make sure you do everything to try to protect their lives at that point. And that is the concern right now, whether or not this really violated the rules of war and constituted a criminal act.
Okay, former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, thanks so much for the insight.
Good to be with you.
Now more of the top stories from around the world in tonight's Evening News Roundup. The Trump administration is stepping up its diplomatic push to try to end the war in Ukraine. Holly Williams in western Ukraine reports that high-level negotiations resume tomorrow in Moscow.
President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are heading to Russia for talks with Vladimir Putin. That follows a meeting with Ukrainian negotiators in Florida yesterday. There may be peace negotiations, but there is no peace for Ukrainians. Their cities are being bombarded on a nightly basis with Russian drones and missiles. Many Ukrainians are angry that President Trump's peace plan put forward just last month mirrors many of Russia's demands, and they say it would effectively reward Vladimir Putin for his invasion by handing over swaths of Ukrainian territory to Russia.
The World Health Organization is now recommending the use of injectable weight loss drugs, including Wegovy and Zepbound, for the long-term treatment of obesity. The UN Health Agency estimates that the number of people living with obesity will double to nearly 2 billion by 2030, unless decisive action is taken.
And today marks 70 years since Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat to a white man aboard a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. That sparked the bus boycott led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which helped to launch the civil rights movement.
Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, some encouraging news about the National Guardsman critically wounded in Washington.
Also tonight, Eye on America.
I'm Mark Strausman in Portland, Oregon, arguably America's coffee capital, where tariffs and spiking prices overall have left a bitter taste. That story coming up on tonight's Eye on America.
And a star football player makes a dramatic comeback. There is some positive news about Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, the West Virginia National Guardsman who survived an ambush attack in Washington, D.C. last Wednesday. Governor Patrick Morrisey said Wolf, still fighting for his life, gave a thumbs up when asked if he could hear a nurse and was able to wiggle his toes.
Funeral arrangements for Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, who was fatally wounded in the attack, are pending. A suspect has been charged with her murder. Nicole Skanga now on what we've learned about him.
CBS News has learned new details about the 29-year-old suspect, still in critical condition tonight and under guard in a Washington hospital. Rahnamala Lakhanwal's former caseworker told us that his mental condition deteriorated in recent months, saying he was isolated, suffering manic episodes, and rarely spoke to his wife or children. The FBI is now interviewing friends and family in Washington state and in San Diego, scrubbing through his social media accounts, looking for clues as to why the suspect allegedly drove 2,800 miles to Washington, D.C. to carry out last week's attack.
We believe he could have been radicalized in his home community and in his home state.
But U.S. intelligence officials tell CBS News so far there have been no confirmed links to any terrorist networks. Lakhanwal served for 8 years in a CIA-backed Zero unit in Afghanistan, known for high-stakes raids targeting the Taliban. He was evacuated with the help of the U.S. government after the chaotic U.S. withdrawal in 2021. Andrew Sullivan served in Afghanistan and now runs a nonprofit that helps resettle Afghans who worked for the U.S. during the war.
The trust required for those Zero units to operate with, American troops and intelligence professionals, it had to be very high. And so I'm certain it was incredibly rigorous vetting to make sure that they were able to operate with our special operators.
Trump administration officials have suggested a lack of vetting led to this attack, but the suspect was vetted again prior to being granted asylum earlier this year in April under the Trump administration.
Nicole Skanga, thank you.
Turns out it's the tea that's making your coffee more expensive.
Tea as in tariff. Tonight's Eye on America is next. In Eye on America, we look at issues facing the nation. And at the top of the list for many is affordability. On the positive side, a glut of crude has sent gasoline falling to an average $3 a gallon for the first time in 4 years. But coffee is going the other way. And as Mark Strassman reports, the reason is tariffs.
Get some ice in here. You got the ice drink, right?
As one of America's coffee capitals, Portland, Oregon has grounds for worry. Coffee prices have soared to historic highs.
We have bags of coffee that are $28.50. That's a lot of money for a bag of coffee.
We met Layla Gambari at Gilder Coffee Company, her specialty coffee cafe. She and her brothers practically grew up inside an espresso machine. Her father owned a coffee shop. Gambari became the 2014 U.S. Barista Champion. Now she's a small business owner grappling with another coffee expense, tariffs.
Any coffee that's already landed in the United States is still subject to the tariff.
So this is a tariff cup of coffee?
That's a tariff cup of coffee.
Coffee beans were already high thanks to supply and demand pressures for premium beans and climate issues, especially crop-killing frost. Back in April, the U.S. jolted coffee-producing countries by adding a reciprocal tariff of 10%. Gambari says that costs her roughly 50 cents a bag.
Have you made espresso before?
Nope. At the University of Oregon, Christopher Hendon's a chemistry professor with a nickname, Dr. Coffee. Hendon says these tariffs cost independent coffee operators. To the end user, the coffee drinker, not feeling it.
You probably are not feeling it. You might not care today because the price didn't change all that much, but you might care if your local cafe disappears.
Or your coffee roaster. Charlie Wicker's company, Trailhead Coffee, roasts green beans into brown ones. Tariffs hit him hard.
I had to lay off the 2 full-time employees. So now it's down to just myself and 1 part-time employee.
Was it a real gut punch?
No, the fact that we're still standing is a function of having a little bit of savings to keep the lights on.
Here's good news for America's coffee community. A few weeks ago, the U.S. reversed itself, lifting those tariffs. But relief will take time. Coffee roasters and cafes typically order beans months in advance.
The new coffees that land in our warehouse in February would be untariffed.
But not until February.
Not until February.
For Charlie Wicker, delivering to cafes, lifting those tariffs could be the coffee break he needs. For Eye on America, I'm Mark Strassman in Portland, Oregon.
And we'll be right back. Finally, tonight, the Denver Broncos defeated the Washington Commanders in overtime Sunday night, 27-26.
It was a double victory for Denver, whose leading tackler made a comeback from a big health battle. Here's Tom Hansen.
It is 3rd and 21 from the 25.
Broncos linebacker Alex Singleton had a night to remember. With 6 tackles and this crucial stop in a nail-biting victory against the Washington Commanders in overtime. A game-clinching performance made even more remarkable given just 3 weeks ago, the team co-captain underwent surgery to remove a tumor. The 31-year-old was diagnosed with testicular cancer last month after a routine NFL drug test found elevated levels of the hormone HCG. In a statement posted on Instagram, Singleton said the surgery was successful and that if sharing his story helps others to pay closer attention to their body, it is well worth it. Singleton has only missed 1 game this season. He played after receiving his diagnosis the night before his surgery. Last night's scoreboard reflected a hard-fought victory for the team, and for Singleton, a triumph far greater than the game itself.
I just love these guys. I love this league, The guys on the other teams coming over, giving me support after this. There's nothing else you could ever want in this world, but this team, it's special. I'm just happy to be a part of it. I love these guys.
Tom Hansen, CBS News.
Yeah, that is one tough guy.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, that's the CBS Evening News tonight. I'm Maurice Dubois.
I'm John Dickerson. Good night.
See you tomorrow.